So today I've been challenged to build a mono-white painter deck list with the stipulation that I'm not allowed to use Oswald Fiddlebender. So we've got some work to do. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Fawful has challenged me to build an interesting mono-white painter deck list. And in the past when I've done this, I think Oswald Fiddlebender is the obvious direction to go. But Fawful was like, hey, what if you find some other win condition to shove in there? Or what if you do like some death and taxes style stuff? Or what if you made it like Urza and did some reanimator style stuff? There was a request for something different. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to bring back something that I haven't played on the channel in a little while, at least not in this form, Phyrexian Dreadnought. So here's what we're working with. So obviously, the Grindstone and the Painter Servant is going to be our primary way to win the game. We want to activate Grindstone with Painter Servant out, which instantly mills our opponent to death unless they have something like an Emrakul that forces a shuffle or a Memory's Journey that might allow them to put some cards back into their library. So I wanted to supplement this plan with the Phyrexian Dreadnought combo. And there's a bunch of different ways to cheat this into play, but we are going to be doing this with cards like Hushbringer as well as Torpor Orb that stop creatures from triggering abilities when they enter the battlefield. And I'm going to preempt a question that I know that I'm going to get. So why am I playing Torpor Orb and not Doorkeeper Thrall in this spot? Alright, two reasons. Number one, Ancient Tomb casts Torpor Orb on turn 1, allowing you to drop one or more Dreadnoughts on turn 2. And in addition, if you have a Lotus Petal and you have the dream like Ancient Tomb, Torpor Orb, Lotus Petal, Dreadnought, you can just do it on turn 1. Number 2, this says artifacts and creatures entering don't cause abilities to trigger, whereas Hushbringer and Torpor Orb both care about creatures specifically. And I wanted to throw Pre-War Formalwear into this deck list. A lot of times painter decks have a little bit of recursion with things like Goblin Welder to kind of make sure that you have some redundancy in your plan. And I started drafting this up with Stoneforge Mystic, and then I went, hey, idiot, Stoneforge Mystic is a creature, that's not going to work. But I think keeping a couple copies of Pre-War Formalwear to return Phyrexian Dreadnoughts back to play after they eat a Fatal Push or whatever is still perfectly reasonable. Many of my creatures are going to be small in this deck list, dying to things like Fatal Push, Bowmasters, Lightning Bolts, whatever, so having some way to bring those back or otherwise make those bigger might be a good idea. I don't really plan on winning very many games via fair combat damage, and if we do, it's probably off the power of Urza Saga into Lava Spur Boots, so I think that's where we're at. It is possible that I could get a touch greedier than I am as far as the mana base goes. I have a ton of copies of Basic Plains here. We are in a Wasteland heavy format, especially with Eldrazi stuff happening, and Sowing Mycospawn happens on cast, not on enter the battlefield, which kind of eats away at some of the Hushbringer Torpor Orb value that we might otherwise be getting. And since we are playing these various Torpor Orb effects, it does mean that some things that might normally slot into a white legacy deck, such as Solitude, become slightly worse. You could still play Solitude as a 3/2 flash creature that you can just cast for free by pitching a white card, and it's not going to have to be sacrificed, but it's also not removing a creature. So, you know, we have some minimal interaction versus combo in game 1, but if you kind of look at the sideboard here, it is very clearly tilted towards making up for game 1 deficiencies versus combo. And Damping Sphere doubles as hate for most of the lands in Eldrazi, while also being something that we could slam off an Ancient Tomb if we are paired against, a Doomsday deck or a Storm deck or whatever. So yeah, let's see how this hybrid combo deck does. We're definitely going to be going for win attempts quickly, which is something that you want to be doing in Legacy. And we do have the ability to weaken some random decks that we get paired against. Your Crater Hoof is a lot less scary if it's just, a 5/5, right? So with that being said, let's battle. And folks, if you need some Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, toamagic.com. They're a great store. I think I'm going to be building a mono black EDH deck in the not too distant future. I cracked an anime art veto that I think is pretty sweet, and I think the itch for a life gain deck is there. And I'll be ordering from them because I get free shipping, and I can use my own promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on my own order while supporting the people who supports me. It just feels good. All right, let's jam. Let's battle. All right, I like my hand here. Am I shoving Torpor Orb on one off Lotus Petal since I just have multiple basics? I think so. Like, I don't have to play around Days yet, and I naturally play around Days with Dreadnought next turn. Shove Torpor Orb. Well, we've got the long pause. So something that I say a lot is that if you don't know why an opponent is casting a card, you should probably counter that card. Like, if you see some just off-the-wall artifact or enchantment and you just physically don't understand why your opponent is playing that card, it is probably central to their deck, and you should consider countering it. I am going to cast Torpor Orb here. It's really awkward if this gets dazed, but living in this world where my opponent can just Entomb, reanimate in this next turn cycle, oh fuck, is another Force of Will, pitching a Tameo. Anyway, living in this world where my opponent might just, end of turn Entomb and then reanimate an Atraxa or whatever, like, I think I've just got to get the show on the road. All right, basic swamp. Ponder does not shuffle. I am not going to show Caracas until later. We have flooded out a little bit here. We don't have any, fun companion to sink mana into right now. Opponent's hand is apparently quite reactive. Hopefully my opponent is scared of us, and we just stare at each other for a little while. Well, they like their cards. That's not great for me. That's a fine draw. Draw, step, stop. Main deck fucking Surgical Extraction? Fucking wild. When I only have 2 of those left. Anyway, I'm sure that main deck Surgical Extraction is a sign of a healthy metagame. Completely unrelated to that last comment, I believe our next banned and restricted update is December 16th? Just saying that for, no reason whatsoever. Okay, no, it's just a bunch of draw go. Alright, well, there's a Hushbringer. So here's the problem. If I cast this Phyrexian Dreadnought, there's a good chance that my opponent just Fatal Pushes this Hushbringer, and then I lose Phyrexian Dreadnought as well. But if I'm not casting this, what the fuck am I doing with my time? With the Torpor Orbs extracted, it's a little hard for me to get 2 Hushbringers. So I am just going to go for this, and then a decent portion of the time, this just fails. I will sack the Dreadnought to itself, so that I can keep my Dreadnought. Wait, that's not how that works at all. Brainstorm's fine. There's a land to clear. There's a Tameo. I have Caracas for that. That is not a scary card. We are going to attempt a bounce here. Okay, no Brainstorm in response. We're chilling. That Dreadnought doesn't do a lot right now. There's a fetch. So, does my opponent just have, Dazes and Fatal Pushes in hand? We know there's a Tameo that is just not doing a lot right now. Alright, well, I guess we're playing this. I don't know whether or not my opponent is going to have something like Snapcaster Mage in their deck. Having Snapcaster Mage to buy back Surgical Extraction is, a thing that matters. I think it is worth grindstoning my opponent, even if sometimes this is a little awkward, because I will almost certainly gain some information. Okay, yeah, so we are looking to be more mid-rangey here than reanimate-y, is my guess. I'll play out this Esper Sentinel. I expect that it is going to immediately die. And we're at the point of the game where the Esper Sentinel tax isn't super relevant anymore. Yup. Goodbye, Esper Sentinel. Ponder's fine. No shuffle. Thought sees me. That's slightly awkward. That takes his Swords to Plowshares and paves the way for my opponent to stick something like a Psychic Frog. Wow, nothing. What's 35 divided by 3? That's how many turns we've got. A little over 10. Haha! Joke's on you, sucker. Now we can go faster. Double my clock. I am, legitimately going to have to think about whether or not I am taking 2 to activate Grindstone additional times. I believe that the answer is no. The 3 damage from Brazen Borrower could be, so much worse here. I'm very glad that this is not a Psychic Frog that is just going to keep scaling up. Nether Goyfs. Ooh, that's awkward. Alright. I don't think I'm taking 2 here. Well, I mean, yeah. I will pay. Yes. Everything's white. I'll pass the turn. And then in upkeep, I'll activate Grindstone. I will be taking 2 off Ancient Tomb here. Shoot the Sheriff. I guess I could just chill and untap and hold up double Grindstone. Yeah, I think that was a mistake. I think I just wait. Then 1 removal spell doesn't do it. It has to be 2. Yeah, I think I like that better. Archon of Emeria is a perfectly fine card. Opponent has 21 cards in deck left, just by the way. Bowmasters. Sure. I'm at 11. That's fine. So do I want to take more from Brazen Borrower in the short term to take out these other creatures? Is Esper Sentinel a May? Well, it's not. That's interesting. Okay. I think I'm just going to trade. Go to 9. I don't think I take 2 to mill my opponent here. Right. I mean, drawing a card is, I guess, still good. Oh, I forgot to bounce Tamiyo. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. Ooh, that's awkward. That's why my opponent was willing to make that attack. Okay, makes sense. Sure. Odo, hello. I'll bounce the Tamiyo now. But I'm kind of locked in continuing to do this in a way that I didn't have to be if I just bounce at end of turn. Third one? Oh, okay, sure. So I'm going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 this turn. That's not great. My opponent's going to surveil 2 and draw a card. I need like a Pre-War Formalwear, a Painter, something of that general nature. Urza Saga is too slow. I end up dead. I'm going to mill my opponent just a couple more times. Look at a few more cards in their deck. See if there's anything else that I need to be aware of for the next game. Oh, how rude. They won't even let me look at one more card. Okay, I think I punted that game by not waiting to untap with Grindstone, like 2 Grindstones to be able to activate and then activate in response again. I just played too quickly. That one's on me. So if my opponent's not reanimating stuff, I don't think I care about this. I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I'll probably play a couple copies of Path to Exile to round out my deck list. Esper Sentinel gets a lot worse if my opponent is just playing multiple copies of Orcish Bowmasters. Although, you know, in a more average game, we should be sticking something that shuts that off. That said, that still might just be my cut. With a single Lotus Petal here, this is just not a viable hand. This one is perfectly fine. I'm going to keep this, probably just getting rid of the Grindstone here. And this is just a Plains and pass. I would love to draw one more land so that I can just play a fair Urza Saga game for a little while. Let's hope we get it next turn. Otherwise, this game could get pretty awkward. Hushbringer's art, too sexy for YouTube, by the way. I tried to use this in a thumbnail one time, and YouTube was like, that's inappropriate. You can't do that. There's a Force of Will pitching a Ponder. I have a lot of really, really good draws. Any land is still fantastic. Any Torpor Orb effect is still fantastic. I can still hopefully just nuke Psychic Frog and move on with my life. That is a Torpor Orb effect. That's great. Yeah, no, you can surgically extract that. So my opponent did not daze last turn. They Force of Willed. There is a chance that they don't actually have something like a daze here. While I could just Path to Exile this turn, I think I am more interested in attempting to resolve this Torpor Orb immediately. I have no guarantee that they... Fuck, that's just double Force of Will 2 games in a row. Alright, that's rough. That's even worse. Now the Frog gets to connect and make up for some of their card disadvantage they have in using 3 free spells in the first 2 turns of the game. Alright. So we're just going to pass the turn, and then in my opponent's upkeep, I will Path to Exile the Frog. I don't think I want to give them the draw step to hit another counterspell to protect that. If I give them the draw step, it gives them a chance to draw a basic land, but they probably have 2 basic lands anyway. So now we're going into this mid game where I think my opponent just has more sources of card advantage than I do. So I think this mid-range game is currently benefiting them. My Dreadnoughts aren't hyper-usable right now. I have 3 Torpor Orbs in my deck remaining to turn these into real cards. Now, if these get into play, it's game over. But, 3 in 47 chance. Not great. Petty Theft, sure. I'm A-okay with a Petty Theft being used in that capacity. I'm not okay with this Psychic Frog hitting play. Vexing Bobble's not super strong here. I think I am just rejamming Archon. I do not want my opponent to be able to play multiple spells in a turn. Like, that's one way to help tax. Like, fuck me. Everything that I have done this game has been checked. So, 1, 2, 3. So, four pieces of interaction thus far. We're in trouble. Now, some portion of the time I could just top deck into Painter combo and be perfectly fine. But I am taking 4 or more points of damage per turn cycle, so I don't actually have a lot of time. I think I am going to leave the Vexing Bauble in play for a little while, so that if I do top deck a Painter, it is at least going to resolve. But this does not feel good. There's a +1/+1 counter. So I probably survive 2 more combat steps, if I were to guess. That's pretty bad. I'm just going to pass the turn here. So I also don't know whether or not my opponent has multiple surgicals now in the post-sideboard games. I'm at 7. So I am dead next turn, assuming that my opponent discards 1 card. Or yeah, okay. So I'm dead next turn. So I do have to do a Vexing Bauble redraw. I could get pinged here. Thanks, deck. All right. Pre-War Formalwear is 3 mana, right? So this is not an out if I mill a Painter. It would be 1 mana short of that, so it doesn't make sense to Grindstone. I am unfortunately dead in the air here, deterministically. So there is my Torpor Orb. I can make 3 Phyrexian Dreadnoughts, but they don't fly, unfortunately. So I am dead. That's a shame. Needed 1 more turn there. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is an absolutely awesome place to keep all of your deck lists. I keep all of my personal deck lists there as well, in addition to all of the stuff that I do for the stream. And in the future, they're going to have a social media site on here too. So if you're worried about other certain websites dying, maybe join Moxfield, put your deck lists up there, and in the future, you'll be there for social media stuff too. All right. Opening hand is fine. I would say it's actively good if we get to draw 1 card with Esper Sentinel at some point this game. I would love to draw a turn 2 play, a Torpor Orb or equivalent. Because Urza Saga Pass is like an okay turn, but if I get to play a Hushbringer effect, I think I actively have a good first turn. Oh, it's Hushbringer. I think since I have pre-war Formalwear, I don't need to play around days. Whether or not I play Urza Saga is more interesting. I'm going to see if I can sneak in a point of damage here. Nice. I do. Off basic island, let's not play around days. I think if it's Underground Sea, I play around days. Basic island is not guaranteeing that days is a thing in this deck. Let's get Saga going, and then Hushbringer. What do you say? They force a will, I will get to draw a card. Alright, it's in play. If opponent attacks Tamiyo into Hushbringer, I can just block to gain 1 life. Lifelink. And we'll see what the follow-up is here. Oh, it's not black. Ooh. So this is a brainstorm that my opponent intends to pay for to flip Tamiyo. The other side of Tamiyo is pretty annoying versus my 1 power creatures. So I don't get immediate good value on attacks, but I have Urza Saga into Phyrexian Dreadnought coming, so this is okay. Pass turn. Sure. Ah, that's annoying. That was supposed to be Phyrexian Dreadnought. Oh well. Okay, so I have a 2/2. I have a 3/3. 2 to equip? Let's try to get this out of Lightning Bolt range before I start getting cute with Pre-War Formalwear. So I can grow this by 1, but doing so gives up Pre-War Formalwear. This is attacking for 3, putting Tamiyo to 3. Putting Tamiyo to 2 means that Tamiyo can't minus. There's not good things in there anyway right now. I think I'm going to hold this. Send in at Tamiyo. Like, I would love for an Esper Sentinel. Have I played a land? No. Yes. If I lose Lotus Petal, I lose a power here. I think I'm just gonna pass the turn now. That's fine. That's not that bad. Sure. So we're chilling. I think this chilling favors me. I mean, Lightning Bolt is a thing, but I think I'm gonna go for it. Oh, fuck. It just worked. I'm going to tell you that I was not expecting that to just fucking work. Alright. Attack Tameo. Oh, we're just done. So what's my opponent doing? Like, how am I supposed to rationalize my opponent's decisions here? They did not use a removal spell all game. They fetched Valk, did not use Valk. Am I supposed to think that they're like a Grixis control deck and they just like fetched wrong and put themselves on another color? Are they some weird like show and tell deck that has wastelands? Like what am I supposed to expect after seeing no interaction with any of my permanents over 5 turns? I don't know. Makes it kind of hard to sideboard. I think I am just going to resubmit the main deck. Like in blue-red, I'm thinking that my opponent might be some sort of blue-red tempo deck list, but like how does all my shit resolve and none of my shit leaves the battlefield? And my opponent kept their 7? And my opponent kept their 7? And cantripped? I don't really know. I think I'm going to resubmit the game 1 deck list. I think I'm probably going to end up bringing in Path to Exile for the next game. But I'm slightly confused about what's happening over there, so I would like to draw another land here, but I think this is fine. Misty, Basic Island, Tameo. Yeah, you got it. Pre-War Formalwear. So I think I am into just shoving Torpor Orb immediately. I think I want to put my opponent to the test before they can crack more clues for Tameo. I think Torpor Orb is pretty likely to stick around. Like, you know, there's maybe a Brazen Borrower or 2 in my opponent's list. All right, there is Delta. Yeah, are they Grixis control and they just fully kept themselves off of color? Hasty Dreadnought attack might be a thing that is going to happen here. So, cast Phyrexian Dreadnought. I mean, please? Equip? Holy fuck. How are we getting away with this? My opponent is on the play and did not take any game actions to interact with my spells in a meaningful way. Did not crack their clue in response to Phyrexian Dreadnought being on the stack. Meltdown, okay. Sure. I mean, that's quite good. Pre-War Formalwear can eventually bring that back. Now we know why my stuff resolved. This Urza Saga is not going to fetch me a Grindstone because of Wasteland. So let's Painter. Everything is white. Let's Painter again. Notably, my opponent is at 5 life. I can just fucking attack them with 1/1s. They will die. Yeah, and I think my opponent rationalizing that counters a 1/1 attacker, or a 1/3 attacker. We're going to bring back a Painter, but make it thick. Oh, that's some shit. That's quite bad for me. And my opponent does take out both. Lightning Bolt's rough. That was a hell of a turn cycle. So what does Bobble indicate? Dragon's Rage Channeler, maybe? Alright. Never didn't have it. I am a skilled magician. We'll be bringing back a Painter's Servant. Everything is white. I have a 2-turn clock. It lives through Lightning Bolt. Tameo can't successfully block it and live. A lot to like here. Land drop's probably fine for my opponent. They want to crack clues and then do something else. Unholy Heat with Delirium does do the trick. Hushbringer is fine. So, like, every creature that I play just needs to be answered. 2 to equip, 3 to equip. Fetching, cracking a clue. Sure. So this is theoretical lethal in play. Now it's not. Yep. Cracking a clue. Just draw another Ancient Tomb, huh? Kind of scary for my opponent to attack with the Tameo. Nice. So just confirming 3 to equip. So Caracas bounce Tameo out of play. Go to Punchies. Get my opponent to 2. Opponent needs an answer to my Hushbringer. Or they can potentially just outright die. Do Pre-War Formalwear equip. Fetching with this Delta is also a little sketch. Okay, yeah, there's the DRC that I deduced from seeing Bobble. That notably does attack each turn if able, but I think my opponent drew a Murktide Regent. So that's a little less convenient. That's not a terrible draw. I need another land for multiple different reasons here. So I expect that we're going to see DRC attacking Murktide Regent hanging back. I'm wrong. Yeah, I'll take 8. I'm at 5. Okay, so there's a blocker that gets them through the next turn. That is a bit of a disappointing loss. GG. Okay, so now we know that my opponent is like a blue-red tempo mid-rangey deck. So I am going to board in these Path to Exiles. I'm probably going to pull one of Esper Sentinel or Archon of Emeria. Archon's 2-3 body doesn't line up the best versus some of my opponent's stuff, and I'm not powering this out. I think I just want another good turn 1 play. This is 2 mana light for me to consider this one. This is fine. I probably keep this and pitch 1 basic plains, rationalizing that I will draw more mana over the course of this game. And let's just immediately stick a Torpor Orb to set up my stuff for later. That's fine. So we're hoping to dodge Wasteland here so that I can deploy an Archon immediately. I have my opponent's threats covered. I am just hoping to be able to deploy my own threats. Sure. Ooh. Ooh. Not Wastelanding. So that means that I get to cast an Archon here. So I'm happy with that. I wonder why my opponent is not Wastelanding. Did I show them Urza Saga last game? Like, now fetch lands are entering tapped because they did not Wasteland me. Yeah. Still choosing not to? Still choosing not to. That actually makes my life a little bit more awkward. Like, I would very much like them to Wasteland me so that I can deploy Urza Saga successfully. I think I'm going to hold off on that for a little while, though. Lightning Bolt is fine. Like, the Archon did its job. It slowed down my opponent by a little bit. That's fine. I'll swords that when I have priority. So let's take that out. I don't want my opponent surveilling. At this stage, I think I'm okay with this expenditure of resources. I think my opponent's made it clear that they're not attacking my Ancient Tomb. So I'm just going to get through that in case I draw another. Ponder's fine. Ponder was a shuffle, though. So I'll cast Hushbringer. Lightning Bolt sucks. I'm going to shove, though. Yep. So I get 2 for 1 to buy a Lightning Bolt. I don't really know that I get to wait around until I have multiple pieces of interaction here, though. Sorry, not multiple pieces of interaction, multiple, like, Hushbringer, Torpor Orb effects. So Tamiyo flips. Now, it is hard for me to do anything with little creatures because Lightning Bolts can keep coming back. Yeah, so if I play Painter Servant, my opponent can just Tamiyo minus Lightning Bolt, return it, and that is incredibly awkward. So I might need to attempt to save up multiple creatures for the same turn cycle. Problem being that, like, this Tamiyo is just going to tick up towards 7 in a way that is quite negative for me. Sure. It's Murktide time. And we'll just plan on taking this out at the end step. This just cannot live. It kills me effectively in 2 attack steps because of Ancient Tomb. I think this is the point of the game where I just lose. So not this turn, but the following turn, my opponent just can ultimate Tamiyo. So I'm going to play Painter's Servant out essentially as bait, hoping that my opponent minuses. Ooh, they took out the Lightning Bolt from their graveyard. They specifically left Delirium, though, so I might be just running into an Unholy Heat. Okay. So they went up. That's fine. So I think if my opponent draws half their library, I just lose. It is a little awkward. I think I crack Vexing Bauble here. You draw a card and just get more looks at Grindstone to kill my opponent. That's Lotus Petal. That's Path to Exile. I'm going to concede. So Painter can't attack Tamiyo successfully because of Tamiyo's plus ability. I don't think if my opponent draws half their library that I beat them, and I am just going to respect my own time here. GG's. All right. We have Hushbringer into Dreadnought as early as turn 2. Probably a good thing. Against Verdant Catacombs, my opponent's creatures could have ETB triggers. I think there is an argument to play Hushbringer this turn to potentially shut off some ETB triggers, and I think there's an argument to not play Hushbringer this turn to play around something like an immediate fetch Fatal Push. Sure. Playing against Pox. Hymn to Turok. You missed the Dreadnought, you fool. Should have randomnessed harder. Oh man, if you hit the Dreadnought, I would have gotten that too. Well, I mean, I guess I attack first, just so I don't miss 1 point of damage if my opponent has Snuff out. 18. Dreadnought. Opponent seems to be fighting the good fight with mono black. If my Dreadnought is removed, I can, in theory, just bring it back quite easily. Sure. Are you taking 13? I would love it if you just took 13 to the face here. Nice. That is a fantastic draw against this sort of strategy. 13? Yup. Saga? Pass turn? I don't remember what I was recording. I think it was Lantern. And in that video, I was saying, like, the legacy rules of engagement are just so incredibly fast right now. And sometimes even when you interact with opponents, it's not enough. So the Hymn to Turox did not address the things that were in play, and my opponent accordingly died because of it. And I think their deck is probably full of, like, spot removal, if I were to guess. But they had the wrong cards at the wrong time. They kept a hand based on 2 Hymn to Turox, which I think is a very good keep, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's just not enough. So I have not seen much from my opponent's deck yet. So I don't know if there's artifact-based win conditions that we need to take out. I don't know if there's recursive graveyard creatures that I need to take out. I don't know if there's a Reanimator plan B in this deck list. So I think I'm going to resubmit the Game 1 deck list, and we can make some adjustments in Game 3. This is good. This is quite actively good. I don't know how I'm going to play this hand, but it's very good. Opponent mulligans once. Verdant, pass. Multiple Ancient Tombs. I just turn to my opponent, in theory, right? Just Painter Servant Grindstone activate is a thing that I can do next turn. Okay. So let's start out this way. Everything's white. So again, for like the Fatal Push argument, I could see just like doing something like Urza Saga Grindstone pass as being a perfectly reasonable line here. We dodged that. Wasteland, sure. That's fine. I'm a mana short of murdering my opponent here. I'm going to attack for 1. They are at 19. I kind of just want to play Archon of Emeria and not get caught up in the combo kill aspect. I think I'm going to do that. If my opponent has 1 fetch land, they probably have more fetch lands. Let's just throw out an Archon. And then 2 turns from now, there's a decent chance that I just Grindstone activate, kill my opponent when they tap out for something or other. The Archon doesn't do anything against the actual factual basic swamps that my opponent has, but like we have seen fetch lands and wastelands already. And if I have any lands ever enter for Archon, it is just incredible. My own Archon bites me in the butt a little bit here. My opponent is probably playing Helm combo. I can't die to like Dark Ritual stuff. Alright. Let's play an Urza Saga. I think it's okay to Torpor Orb as my 1 spell. Back for 3. This has Shadow. It's at 15. I'll take 3, and that's fine. I hope my opponent just like taps out for something. And then I just get the Grindstone win. Yeah. Nice. So, land. Grindstone. Grindstone. Target you. Obliterate your deck. And that'll do. Alright, what was in my opponent's deck? Like, what were they playing? So, yeah, this was what I might call just kind of a boomer take on mono black, because it's playing like the sinkholes and stuff that are just too slow for this format right now. Like, Sinkhole is a legacy power level card in that, you know, blowing up a land is a strong effect. But right now, specifically, current legacy is just so fast that I don't know that, like, turn 2 interaction that is not addressing a creature is just the appropriate level of speed for the format. All right. We've got an okay opening hand. I am... that's a sign of something unfair. That means my Archon of Emeria is going to be really good, potentially game-winning on turn 2. Lotus Petal would be my best draw in this turn cycle here, as it could allow me to accelerate the Archon on turn 1. So usually when you see a deck that looks something like this, like with Valakut Awakening in particular, you should be thinking some sort of Storm combo deck list. Sometimes these are like Necro Dominance deck lists, and the Valakut. Oh gosh, that's so good. If I get another turn, this is really good, but I think this is going to be black, black, black for Necro Dominance immediately. So I think I am probably just losing this one for losing the die roll, unfortunately. Elvish Spirit Guide. Oh, Beseech the Mirror. Okay, so it was Beseech the Mirror for Necro Dominance, so now my opponent can draw 19 cards and presumably win. Sometimes this fizzles, though. There's a couple Spirit Guides. Presumably this is another Manamorphose here. Okay, there's blue mana naturally, so that can be for Born Upon a Wind, so that my opponent can cast their artifacts and such with Flash. And now they're going to play out a whole bunch of artifact mana. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that. From counts 12 with a whole bunch of mana in pool, and there is the Tendrils. Yeah, we lost this one for losing the die roll, unfortunately. Okay, Deafening Silence is great. Damping Sphere is great, but slower. Orin is unexciting, but perhaps playable. Grafdigger's Cage and Fairy can do some stuff if my opponent is doing Beseech the Mirror, Gaia's Will lines specifically, which I guess I'm not really expecting here. So Swords to Plowshares can immediately go out. Pre-War Formalwear is slow. That can immediately go out. And then a lot of the rest of the stuff that's here is central to one of the deck's combos. So I could just not play the Lorens, or I can do something like trim some Esper Sentinels. Esper Sentinel is just like not winning me the game here. It's unfortunately going to be kind of a boring round of Magic where one of us just loses or wins with very little interaction from the other player. This is too slow. I'm not interested in Esper Sentinel hands. I just want to play a lock piece, preferably off like an Ancient Tomb. This is turn 2 Damping Sphere. I think I just die if I keep this. I would much rather try to play something on turn 1. Yeah. So, oh, does this not work? So in no capacity can I play Damping Sphere and Deafening Silence on turn 1 despite having the mana to do so. That's fine. So let's put these back in the deck. I think I will go Lotus Petal. The Damping Sphere turning my Ancient Tomb into a land that produces 1 is like hyper relevant right now. So I think I am going to cast Deafening Silence. And if that resolves, I'm just going to play Urza's Saga and attempt to kill my opponent with Urza Saga tokens off Deafening Silence. It just becomes a very, very swift clock when Lava Spur boots are taken into account. Sure. So I'll make a token this turn. I'll make a token next turn. I can get the boots. But I can, like, now that I have this other Ancient Tomb, I can also play Damping Sphere on top of that. And hope that that gets me there. I can slow down this game more by playing the initial Damping Sphere rather than getting Urza's Saga going. But if I do that and I don't draw a third land, I am in a really, really awkward place. Like, I will have a disappearing Urza's Saga. Okay, I mean, that's their one. Yeah, that doesn't feel great on their end. So Saga activate. There's a Grindstone. Yeah. Is Vexing Bauble just better here than Damping Sphere? Sorry, is Vexing Bauble better than anything else that I can do because I have Damping Sphere? The Vexing Bauble counters things that are played out if they are free, which is maybe relevant, question mark. Yeah, I think since I'm not attacking with the boots immediately, that this is just fine. These constructs are going to hit like trucks. It's just a clean 3-turn clock, right? So 4 this turn, 8, 8, so 8, 16 plus 4, 20 exactly. So my opponent has 2 turns to get through all of this. And that's a lot, and some sort of weird meltdown style card doesn't answer everything either. That's a Nature's Claim, that's a start. Land drop. Oh. Okay, so there is a Necro. So are you going to attempt to go for a win through Damping Sphere? I guess it's possible. The Spirit Guides are super taxed, though. Colors of Mana are probably rough. Okay, no, it's just a fair Necro draw a couple cards. Hushbringer is not playable. Is it worth my 2 life to cast Grindstone? I think so. Every card that I deny here might be relevant. So the Ancient Tomb costs me 2 life and only produces 1 mana. Just as a heads up. Opponent's at 2. I don't have Mind Break Traps or anything relevant that I can draw off Vexing Bauble. Would you like to draw 1 card? Yep. Is it enough? It is not enough. But now the problem is that we need to try to do this on the draw, where it's just less likely that I string together a critical card. My Ancient Tombs and 3 Lotus Petals matter a whole lot here. This is an awkward hand for me. So this is a hand that can produce a Damping Sphere on turn 1. However, it then does not cast any meaningful spells. I think I just keep it. I think playing a turn 1 piece of interaction is critical. And I do have Painter Servant plus Grindstone in hand. So if I hit lands, I do have everything that I need for the win. Let's see if we just get turn 1 though. Because we can't really do anything against Dark Ritual Necro other than hope that my opponent dies. So they get to draw 19, and then we see if they lose to themselves. It is a little frustrating that we might lose this entire match for losing this die roll at the very beginning. 4 Spirit Guides. Summoner's Pact. There'll be a 5th Spirit Guide. This gets the blue mana for Born Upon a Wind. Dark Ritual. There's the Born Upon a Wind. So now opponent just needs to build Storm Count a little bit, and then they can Tendrils me. Alright, a few spells later, we have a Beseech the Mirror, which is going to get the Tendrils and kill me. Alright, GG. Alright, final round here. Oh, it's Julian! I'll be keeping my hand here. So we Goldfish on turn 3 with Painter as of right now. And we also have some interaction for if our opponent is playing a combo deck. Julian is on his signature Elves deck, which is fine. I'll drop a Grindstone on turn 1 and pass. Alright, so this is more combo-y than a lot of builds of Elves that you might otherwise see. Leaf Crowned Visionary. We've got the beats, sure. Okay, so I can just play Painter and see if Julian kills me. I can play Archon to keep Glimpse of Nature style stuff from happening. I can Swords Leaf Crowned Visionary to cut a mana off. I can play Hushbringer so that a hoof doesn't get me off natural order. There's a lot of ways to take this turn. I think I am into removing the Leaf Crowned Visionary here. And I'm gonna, tip my hand a little bit here, play the Painter, and put Julian to the test. So 1, 2, 3, 4, a natural order is possible. There's a lot of potential mana here. So like I can just get got by a natural order. That's 4. There's a green sun for 3. It is Grist. Sure. This is a Dryad Arbor, trade for Painter. Julian does not have a lot of gas left over though. So hopefully that's fine. Now I've kind of got a bunch of pieces of the same side of the deck. I think I'm into 2 life for Archon. Archon can attack and kill Grist. We're just gonna play this as the land and pass the turn. And this is gonna turn into a game of who top decks better. That's a lot of elves. That's a land though. This is more than 1 spell, period. So there's some slight tension sometimes with wanting to multi-spell with Archon. I still think we need the Archon. Like the flying utility here, for example, is very real. Send in, finish off Grist. Grist dies. We will drop Hushbringer, which offsets a multi-attack if my opponent finds that profitable to do. And this has the secondary upside of making something like a top deck Crater Hoof significantly less good. Keen-Eyed Curator. Okay. So that can be a big body, but 7/7 as a big body is different than 12/12 as a big body. So Julian is probably now doing like multi-turn combat math about like what happens if he attacks with all 5 of these creatures into the Hushbringer. And he has decided he does not like those prospects. So there's a Dreadnought. You don't have reach or anything hidden there, do you? Trample. Okay, that's fine. Send this in. I'll leave the Hushbringer back. 12 plus 6, 18. It's always taking me 2 Dreadnought attacks anyway. Yeah, let's just attack with 1 of these. and make there be some losses if all of this stuff wants to come on in. And I assume that Julian is just going to obliterate the yard here. All right, so we've got 4 things under the curator now. And if he doesn't have any graveyard-based synergies, it just makes sense to keep going here. Sure. Oh. All right, we have decided against an attack. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Julian could throw everything in front of a Dreadnought. So Julian could attack me back for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but I have 2 blockers, so that's not actually happening. Let's send in with the Dreadnought. I think just that one. All right, down to 6. I'll play a land. I get to play a spell this turn. I'll drop the Torpor Orb just so we have some redundancy for this. All right, and we got it. So if I treat Julian's deck like a combo deck, I can think about things like these. Deafening Silence specifically is non-creature spells, though, so if my opponent is, Elf Storming off, this doesn't actually do a lot. And the Damping Spheres can do some stuff versus Gaia's Cradle, but do kind of blow back on my Ancient Tombs. At the Exile is a pretty mediocre card here, specifically because I'm often taking out something that would produce mana and replacing it with a forest, so, I am not excited about Vexing Bauble. I'm not really excited about Pre-War Formalwear. The rest of my cards in my deck are fine to good. I will probably play Path still. I think I'm going to shave a couple of Esper Sentinels and go ahead and play the Damping Spheres. I do not expect the Damping Spheres to be amazing. I think they are playable, and I would prefer to combo my opponent quickly. This is not that. That said, I don't really know that I mulligan this hand. Oh wow, Julian is just going into Oblivion. So given that, I will probably Swords to Plowshares just about any relevant creature that's played out on turn 1. Yeah, so this could allow the forest to be used as essentially 2 land drops. Ooh, is Damping Sphere on turn 1 better? I don't think so. Like, this stops the forest from being used twice. It reduces the power of Gaia's Cradle. I am fine with this exchange. And then I can do something like Urza Saga, Damping Sphere, or Esper Sentinel followed by Damping Sphere on turn 2. Green Sun? Or Dryad Arbor. Sure, and I can work towards a combo kill as well here. I play Urza Saga immediately. I will do that. I'll play a Damping Sphere. It is possible for land into natural or whatever to still happen here in a slightly annoying way. Sure. So, let's just play a Plains and pass. And we're going to focus on pressuring down this Grist in a fair capacity. And then once Grist is gone, we can potentially Painter's combo. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Sure. Got it. So we have a 2/2 creature. Put Grindstone into play. Cast Painter. Can't activate Painter because of my own Damping Sphere. So we'll be killing later if I go the Grindstone route. So this is 3/3. They're about to be 4/4s. I can just get Lava Spur Boots and try to outfare this game rather than combo kill. I think that's fine. So drop Caracas. Lotus Petal can be the one spell that I reasonably cast. Then Lava Spur Boots. Equip here. Go to combat. I think I will just send both at Grist. Okay, and we're going to see some chump blocks. That's fine. I fucked up. I'm supposed to Caracas bounce this. Forgot this was a legend. I'm supposed to Caracas bounce that and pay with Lotus Petal. That might be a game-losing mistake. Collector Oof. Sure. So then there's a Grist minus on a Dryad Arbor. So if there's the extra mana left over, I think I like getting rid of the one with Ward. Okay. So, I'll play this land. I'm going to be sending in at Grist. This is going to get a Dryad Arbor chump block. That's fine. Then I think I go ahead and Caracas bounce this out of play. My own Damping Sphere is like much more annoying than I expected. One more? One more. I can play Painter Servant, 2 mana Esper Sentinel, or I can just hold up a Gonjo for Collector Oof. I think I'm going to play out multiple creatures. Oh, right. That is shorting me 1 more mana than I am counting it for. Let's just hold back a Gonjo then. That is a Green Sun. It's quite good. I wanted a miss there. Oh no, Julian forgot about the ward. Oh, that's tragic. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's rough. A Gonjo. Yeah, that's a major blowout. I think we've both made some mistakes this game. So now this is live again. So I can play Urza's Saga, 2 mana Painter Servant. Everything is white. 1 mana. I guess I'm not playing Esper Sentinel, right? I've already cast 1 spell and I want to hold up Caracas. Yeah, so this is fine. I'll just play like this. Now I go to combat. I send both of those at Grist. Grist guaranteed dies. Fantastic. Do I want to play out Esper Sentinel? I'd give up Lotus Petal to do that. Or take 2 and drop Caracas. No, I think I want all of those things. Painter Servant, also just representing a kill here. Rexage is great. I think Urza Saga is potentially my best thing. It's weird though, because that legendary creature my opponent has, I have forgotten its name already, Eldamri maybe, can potentially cast an extra elf if Damping Sphere is not in play and Gaia's Cradle is allowed to make more mana. Okay, yeah, it is Saga. Got it. No attacks. Pass. Okay, extra Painter Servant. These aren't cumulative, right? I guess it would be cumulative. Yes. That's fine though. Everything is white again. I think I'm going to go ahead and take 2 so that I can also attack with this. This other painter can already attack. This is attacking in for 9, which will probably put theoretical lethal on board next turn. And then I'll pass holding up holding up Caracas. Surprisingly, a dicier game than expected for how deep Julian mulled. My own Damping Sphere worked against me a bit in terms of making my constructs as large as possible to push damage. Alright, we're chilling. That's quite good. I don't think I really need to cast that. I can, but I don't really think I need to. I think I'm just going to go to combat, swing in with everything that is currently up, and leave up 2 mana Swords to Plowshares. Alright, opponent is going for the double block. And if they're going for the double block, then I will bite. I will give them 1 life, and I'll take 2 more in order to not lose a Painter Servant and take out both of their creatures instead of just 1. Ooh. Oseiju, sure. So there's a basic Plains for my trouble. Now, since I still have this extra mana, yeah, I'll do this. And pass. So we have Caracas for the 1 known card in my opponent's hand. Gaia's Cradle not tapping for mana. Yeah, so my opponent can play that, and then I will just Caracas it out of play as soon as I have priority. Like so. Swords is a great pickup here. Send in with all of these. Opponent goes to 6. I am fine casting another Damping Sphere. It just makes it harder for Julian to sling together multiple spells in a meaningful way. And we do end up putting 2 wins on the board in this league. Okay. That was an okay showing for this deck list. I think this was a fine first draft of this idea. But I want to go back to the original prompt. So the original prompt was to try and build this in a way where we're not playing with Oswald Fiddlebender. Oswald Fiddlebender is exactly what this deck needed. Oswald Fiddlebender gives us selection and gives us the ability to tutor for specific artifact-based combo pieces, which is what this deck list is all about. So the way that you improve this deck list is probably remove 4 Archon of Emeria, play 4 Oswald Fiddlebender, and now your Grindstones can turn into Torpor Orbs. Is this instant speed? Can I do this at instant speed? No, activate only as a sorcery. in theory, if you have a Vexing Bauble or a Phyrexian Dreadnought or Lava Spur Boots in play, those can turn into Painter Servant to complete that combo. And you can turn the 2-drops that you don't need into Pre-War Formalwear. And then Pre-War Formalwear can go and bring back like something like your Painter Servant or your Hushbringer. So the prompt was build it without Fiddlebender. But I think if you want to play this, you just play Fiddlebender. And I think it is very, very good. I could see wanting the 4th Lotus Petal in this deck list. The ability to just Torpor Orb Phyrexian Dreadnought on turn 1 is pretty strong. And the Lotus Petal and Ancient Tombs do help you keep up with your opponent's mana-wise. I could see maybe wanting 1 City of Traders. It's really, really bad as a turn 1 land in this deck if you're not playing Chrome Mox, though, so I don't know that I'd really want to play a ton of them. I am fine with the way that the sideboard was constructed conceptually. In practice, I was finding that I did not like Damping Sphere. I wanted something that hit Storm and Eldrazi at the same time because I don't have just like the Blood Moon, oops, I win button here. Maybe you can find something else that attacks Eldrazi while still having overlap with combo. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head. You probably don't get to just like Armageddon someone while playing a deck that looks like this. I don't think that makes sense. You could just play the Archons in the sideboard slots where Damping Spheres are. That's not crazy. It's a little slow versus combo and a little slow versus Eldrazi, though. I feel like we lost some very, very close calls today. So I think this is, successful as a first attempt at a brew, but still definitely needs some fine-tuning. The issue with trying to be a mono-white painter deck list is that you don't get the generic catch-all of something like Red Elemental Blast that you might be getting while playing Red Painter that just randomly hoses Murktide Regents, Psychic Frogs, Show and Tells, Brainstorm Ponders, and so on and so forth. You get the powerful white removal, though, in Swords to Plowshares, potentially Path to Exile, and other options as well. So there is some give and take. You could maybe try to fit one more Witch Enchanter into this deck. Although I think I dealt a gajillion damage to myself with Ancient Tomb in that previous game. So, be careful about adding too many things that negatively impact your own life total, especially if you're not always going to end the game super, super quickly. And with that, I think I'll call it a day here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you need some cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you and that they should continue to support my content. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And for those of you who are about to fiddle bend, get fiddle bending. See ya.